Start winning at the races with Daily Racing Form's new mobile pass performances, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures and expert analysis and selections. Go to drf.com/best and get the power of DRF in the palm of your hand. Dan Illman, Mike Buer, taking a look at the feature race on opening day at Monmouth Park. Let's throw up the field for the Oceanport Centennial Stakes, carded as race number 5 furlongs on the main track. $75,000 is the purse. This is a wide open race, Mike. Basically, we've got horses coming off layoffs. We've got some old class horses trying to find their form. We've got horses stepping up in class. You get a little bit of everything in here. And again, it is wide open and very competitive.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I didn't think it was necessarily that easy. The layoffs, probably the biggest concern to me over anything else. And, the 5 furlong distance, we'll see. I guess some of these horses maybe just coming back because it's such a short distance that they can get a run in. But these races, for the most part, they're all about speed.
As we take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector, we're expecting the speed to come from the 4 Chateau. I'm not sure what we're supposed to expect from Chateau, however, because this is one of the horses relocated from the controversial Jason Service barn. Who knows if Chateau will return to that form?
Yeah, that is the big question about this horse. One thing you do know about Chateau, if you've ever seen him run, though, he's really fast.
Lockheed, on the other hand, he's going to be coming from the back of the pack. On his very best day, this Maryland-based horse is capable of running fast races. Buyers in the high 90s. He's even touched 100 on one occasion. He seemed to just tail off form towards the latter half of 2019. The Maryland Million Sprint, he didn't fire at all. It was not a strong race. The 4th horse came back to run 3rd in a stake at Laurel with an 84 buyer. Lockheed has to do better, but I think this layoff is going to do well for him. He needed it, and he runs well fresh.
Yeah, he does run well fresh. We'll see what happens here, Dan. I mean, obviously, if you just go through his recent form, I say recent, maybe over the past year or so, I mean, he's got some pretty fast races on his card. So you know that if he shows up with his good race, he can be tough in the air.
The 2 factor it in is very comfortable at this 5 furlong distance, and I think he can be a little bit closer than where Timeform US has him. They have him last and far off of the early pace. This horse won 3 of 4. They threw him to the wolves in the General George last time out. No excuses other than he's just not as good as Firenze Fire, who's one of the better sprinters in the country. This is a nice spot for his return to action.
I think it is too. I'm a little concerned that maybe he's not quite this good. Obviously, you can still give him a few more chances in stakes company, but he's facing some real, the horses that are, quality stakes quality sprinters, and he's not that yet.
American Pastime, the number 3, I've always been a big fan of his. 4th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint in 2017. It's just a shame. He's really had a lot of problems staying sound. His last start was in the Grade 2 Phoenix. He was completely overmatched in a field that produced 4 next out triple-digit buyer horses, including Whitmore, who ran 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. His race 2 starts back at Del Mar was okay against a nice horse in Flagstaff, but another layoff he has to deal with.
Yeah, the layoff is the major concern with him. Obviously, I mean, just going through his form, his good race makes him super tough in this race, and he's got speed as well. I just don't know that I would want him at any kind of a short price off this layoff.
And here's Chateau. He was claimed for $40,000 by Service. He immediately won 3 races in a row. He won this race, his last start for Service, an optional claiming event where he just ran away and hid, going 6.5 furlongs, a 96 buyer speed figure. Does he have 5 furlong speed? I think against this field he does.
I do too. And it's, one of the really, I got to be honest, one of the only things that I like about this horse. I've seen plenty of him in New York. After Service claimed him. I've never been a big fan of his. And the big drawback, for him, according to me anyway, is just that he really does not finish his races strong at all. I actually feel like 5 furlongs is really good for this horse because he's wicked fast early.
Dr. Feelgood is a feel-good story. He's won 10 of 12 starts, all of them at his home base at Charlestown. Let's watch his last race, the It's Only Money, going 4.5 furlongs, and Dr. Feelgood at 2-5. Well, he runs to his odds. He has big early speed. We see him hanging on his left lead here, but they just can't get to him in West Virginia. This is a much tougher spot, but I think we're going to know him early. I think he can be closer than when Timeform US has him. I don't think they're shipping out of town to sit off the pace. I think they're gunning.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're going to try and use his speed, and we'll see. Listen, if he's fast enough to make the front here, he could be very dangerous.
I think the 6, Awesome Anywhere, has 2 questions. One is class. He's never proven himself to really be a stakes horse. He's stakes placed on a synthetic surface. And distance. He might be more of a 3/4 of a mile horse. Once in a while, he pops a fast race, as he did 2 starts back in this effort. It was only a starter allowance, and a very weak one at that at Oaklawn Park. But Awesome Anywhere just buried this field. He put away 2 pace challengers. He draws away under hands and heels urging. He earns a 98 buyer. If he could somehow run this race under perennial leading jockey Paco Lopez, he's going to be tough again.
Yeah, he is. He did look really good winning this race. So we'll see if he can back it up now, Dan. I didn't think he could make the lead in here, but you know what? Maybe he doesn't need it. If he can just keep himself close, I think he can be tough.
Midtown Charlie Brown is the number 7. This is a multiple stakes winner based in Pennsylvania for trainer Ed Coletti. 4th last time out behind Firenze Fire and the Fabulous Strike. Firenze Fire was just on a roll at that point. He came back to win the Gravesend with a 95, the General George with a 102. Midtown Charlie Brown has surprising early speed as well, going 6. Now, whether that translates to 5, his record says it does. He's 2 for 2 at this distance. I wouldn't fall asleep on this horse. He has some quality.
I wouldn't either. And I'm a big fan of his, actually. I think he's pretty good. He's another horse who I didn't think was fast enough to make the lead in here. So we'll see what happens if he doesn't get it, because I think that could be a big problem for him. It is worth noting, he's off a layoff here, but he must be ready to run down, because he's had this horse entered twice in New York recently and scratched him both times.
Talk about a class test. Inksblots won last time out, but it was his one and only win. It was this race against $40,000 maiden claimers. I'll say one thing about Inksblots, who only earned a 68 buyer speed figure, a number that pales in comparison to those of the main contenders. He's very fast out of the gate.
That is something to consider about him. It feels like he's in way over his head in this race, but he does have early speed.
We'll take a look at our top selections for race number 5, the Oceanport Centennial Stakes on opening day at Monmouth. Mike, you're going with Chateau. You like the cutback, and you know he's fast enough to grab the front.
Yeah, that's why I took him. Listen, I had to hold my nose a little bit to put him on top, because I'm not a real fan of his, but he is really fast early.
Awesome Anywhere, the 6, occasionally pops a big race, as he did 2 starts back. Now he's got to prove he's a stakes horse. Last time out, they held him in the gate, and he was declared a non-starter, so you draw a line through that one. I'm curious to see where he'll be in the early portion of this race, but a very competitive edition of the Oceanport Centennial. Mike's going 4-3-1-7. I'll take the 6, Awesome Anywhere. Approximate post time for race 5 at Monmouth on opening day, 7 o'clock Eastern. Best of luck.